Who is the greatest orator in Western history? Is it Germany's Hitler or Britain's Churchill? Or is it America's Martin Luther King? It seems difficult for us to evaluate whose speaking ability is superior. But they all have an undeniable role model. That is Cicero of ancient Rome. You may not know who Cicero is, but you surely know about the European Renaissance. It can be said that the Renaissance is a revival of Cicero, a revival of ancient Greek and Roman culture. In terms of speaking ability, we can no longer use the identity of orator to praise Cicero's ability. To be precise, he should be considered an eloquent speaker. Cicero was originally a lawyer. Later, he entered the Roman Senate, becoming an outstanding politician. He once defined an orator in his On the Orator. Quote, he defined an orator as someone who can address any issue appropriately and vividly. He believes that an eloquent speaker is able to face any problem. Both are appropriate and vivid. A person who is persuasive and powerful in delivering speeches. In addition, a skilled orator must also maintain a polite demeanor at all times, must not be influenced by negative emotions. To become a skilled orator, one must possess a strong reservoir of knowledge. In addition to grammar, rhetoric, arithmetic, and geometry, astronomy, music, and art, he also needs to master philosophy and ethics, politics, law, and military affairs, as well as the systems of other countries. Furthermore, what determines the level of a speech is how words are used and sentences are constructed, how to structure the style of speech. Not only must it be expressed correctly, but also be easily understood by the general public. While providing vivid examples, it must also stay relevant to the topic. How strong is Cicero's ability to express himself? Originally, it was Abbe Quinet, could only be praised through analogy. If Latin lost Cicero, it would be like English losing Shakespeare, Russian losing Pushkin, modern Chinese losing eloquence. Faced with them, any elaborate vocabulary is just an embellishment of language, and the ways they create to express themselves. It is the sole and greatest charm of language. Unlike those who claim to love reading, but are illiterate politicians, Cicero, in order to enable the Romans to study ancient Greek philosophy in their own language, translated many philosophical terms from Latin into what we now know as modern English. Many philosophical terms originate from Cicero's Latin word formation. Cicero's own philosophical works, although lacking in depth, still made a profound contribution to the development of philosophy. We often say, glory belongs to Greece, greatness belongs to Rome, and without Cicero's Rome, it cannot be called complete Rome. Cicero was not only an orator, philosopher, and writer, but also the deserved father of the Roman Republic. The Roman Republic was founded in 509 BC, with power divided among the consuls, the Senate, and the People's Assembly. The Senate was composed of Rome's nobility, who did not hold actual legislative power, but only had the right to review legislative proposals. In other words, regarding legislative proposals, they could only offer their opinions. And the actual legislative power, this is exercised by the People's Assembly, the 100-member council meetings. They also have the right to elect magistrates and judges. Magistrates usually serve for 1 year, and there are 2 of them. They are the highest executive officials of the state. They are also the highest military commanders in times of war. In addition to this, there are also tribal assemblies. Both commoners and nobles can participate. They also have the right to declare war, and the right to pass laws. Cicero adhered to a moderate stance. Therefore, he highly praised the republican system. He believed that the republican system combined aristocracy, monarchy, and democracy. It is a mixed form of government. Therefore, it is considered an excellent system of governance. For Cicero, dictators like Caesar and Antony prioritize personal rights and ambitions over the public interest. Those who persecute the republican system are all his enemies, and enemies of the people. Apart from participating in political activities, Cicero was also a jurist. He early on systematically argued about the relationship between natural law and positive law. He believed that natural law represents reason, justice, and the will of the gods. Natural law is universally applicable and eternal. It existed long before the formation of states. Any positive law must conform to natural law, or else it does not deserve to be called law. In fact, the concept of natural rights is not a product of modern times, but rather originated in ancient Rome, where the seeds of this idea were planted early on. Cicero was a staunch defender of the republican system, and a loyal advocate of liberalism. He was also an ancient pioneer of the separation of powers theory in the West. During the Enlightenment era, countless political philosophers were influenced by Cicero, such as Locke, Hume, Montesquieu, and others. The founding fathers of America regarded Cicero as a lifelong role model. It can be said that without Cicero, we cannot imagine The system of separation of powers in modern Western society would have been delayed for how long? Where would the enlightenment of natural rights come from? Cicero was included by Antony in the list of enemies of the people who murdered Caesar. From then on, his body fell alongside the Roman Republic. Cicero's death, like Socrates, had a profound impact on Western society. After 1800, at the Constitutional Convention of 1787 in Philadelphia, Americans modeled the Roman Republic and established the United States Constitution. Americans were also determined to re-establish a republican form of government and create a new Rome. It can be said that without understanding ancient Greece, you won't be able to understand the West. Without understanding ancient Rome, you won't be able to understand the United States. When you are at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, you can see this painting of the death of Socrates. And when you overlook New York from above, you can see the city's grid layout centered around Central Park. The grid-like urban planning design surrounding it. This design concept does not come from early American politicians and architects during the planning, but rather from the principles held by ancient Rome. The Hippodamian grid planning logic. It symbolizes in ancient Roman culture the eternal pursuit of reason and order, as mentioned in Gorgias. Quote, "When poetry and legends fade away, only architecture continues to speak." Follow me to take a popular look at philosophy. Friends, see you next time.